in terms of definitions. We'll talk about founders, co-founders, what an entrepreneur is, what a early stage employee is, and what an operator might be. And so the first is a founder. It's the purest form of entrepreneurship. It is the thing that gets recognized most, or is the person that gets recognized most when you think about who created value within a company. It's the original founder. It's the idea generator. It's the Musks of the world. It's the Jobs of the world. It's the Jeff Bezos of the world. And so the co-founder can come in at some point after the initial idea has been generated. Oftentimes, they'll come together at the same moment, and you have many cases of that. Larry Page and Sergey Brin. With Google, you've got many cases of founders coming together, ideating together. But a lot of times you have someone that has a certain strength on the business side and another founder or co-founder that has the strength on the technical side. Sometimes he's just the sales guy, but nonetheless, you've got the sort of balance that you're looking for in your co-founder. And the next one, which I think is sometimes defined a couple of different ways, but the most classical definition of an entrepreneur is someone that is put up to a task by a larger, more established corporation. They realize that they're too big, too slow, too legacy-minded to innovate, and so they've carved out certain initiatives and tasks a given employee or a team of employees to go tackle that initiative and continue to innovate. A couple of famous examples: Gmail was created as an internal system, an internal email client, and it's now the most widely used email client in the world. Maybe a lesser known, but still relevant example is Honeywell. Honeywell Connected Enterprise. So 100-year-old company, they were everywhere. You find the Honeywell brand on your thermostat, you find it all throughout your life. But they were looking to quote unquote digitally transform, and they're having a real hard time with that. And so they essentially created a startup at the center of their entire enterprise, and they tasked a series of team members to transform and collapse the enterprise into a startup, which they call Honeywell Connected Enterprise. And then the early stage employee, this is a path that I took coming out of college. In a weird way, I was an early stage employee, but it was with a company that was about 30 years old, but it was only 35 people. And so in a weird way, I was an early stage employee, but I was at an established company. It's only early in the stage of maybe the size of the company, not the age. And in that company, I played an entrepreneurship role where I was focused on essentially driving the next evolution of their product. So I started my career in product management, moved into sales throughout that process. It was at a company here in Melbourne. The early stage employee understands what it's like to operate with a bit of chaos. They operate most closely with the founding team members, if not the founder and CEO themselves. And they don't really have much of a playbook at their disposal. They're out there tackling problems that haven't been tackled before by that organization, and they're expecting to take ownership and put the entrepreneurial hat on them as they go out and tackle their specific discipline within that organization. And then finally, the fractional operator, someone that's probably seen and done a lot. They've been around maybe multiple times in startups. They've either founded or co-founded startups in the past and had their own exits. They've come into a fractional operator role where they're not consultants necessarily, but they're people who have seen enough to have a framework for any given problem that a given startup faces, and they get their hands dirty, and they're expected to do that early, often, and they're not expected to miss. So a fractional operator can be in tandem with a venture capital firm. They can also be as a partner to a venture capital firm. There's so many different startups, innovators, people that understand their problem so well, but don't necessarily understand how to go to market with it, how to speak customer language. And so when you drop those nuggets of hopefully what comes across as wisdom, seeing them internalize it, make use of it, and then be able to execute on their own journey is super fulfilling. I'll just wrap it up with this. Top of mind for literally everyone for the last few years since the ChatGPT moment is this idea of what is the future of work. Where do we end up 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? It's important to note that no matter who you are and what job you're in, you might go out and find a startup or found a startup today, and you might realize that entrepreneurship in its classical sense is just not really for me. And you might end up in an individual contributor role at some point within the near future. But no matter what, you will end up in a seat of entrepreneurship, or at least the entrepreneurs that take advantage of the tools at their disposal today will be the winners in the individual contributor sense, as the founders, as the co-founders, as the fractional operators, the early stage employees, etc. At the end of the day, you still have to aim these AI tools at problems. And in order to solve those problems, you need to be just as ambitious as you would be if you were founding your own startup. The 4-hour work week popularized by Tim Ferriss really only gave way to the 10-day work week. And what that means is essentially that the most ambitious people, the ones that are really willing to go problem solve, don't see the 4-hour work week as an opportunity to sit back for the next 36 hours. They see it as an opportunity to multiply themselves and tackle things at a scale that wasn't possible as an individual 5 years ago.